Okay, we got the lower A-frames out now, and I've been doing some cleans and painting as we go, but these are pretty simple. They're bolted on with U-bolts that go across here on the bottom side, all right? And they just come through the frame right here, and it's 7/8 bolts. You just clean them off and you spray them down and they zoop right out. And there's a set there on both sides, and there is a set of holes right there on the back side of the K-frame. And those are real simple now. Pressing a ball joint out, that's not a big deal, but how do you get this shaft out without boogering everything up till we can get it cleaned up and get it painted and get new bushings and new ball joints put in here? Well, what we're going to have to do, and what I do is I always put the nuts back on just to protect them threads, because those threads are very important. We're going to drill this rubber out, and we're going to pick it out and just get it out of the hole on both sides. So we're just going to take probably a 3/16 drill bit, and we're just going to start drilling a bunch of holes. And we're going to take a pick and just get it out. So that's how we're going to change this one out. And we're going to do the same thing to that one over there. But to take them off, that's real simple. We'll clean those up and make sure the threads are nice and clean, so then paint them up, make them look pretty, so that when we put everything together. But all it does, it just goes right over top of that. Well, actually, it goes from this side. And there's a couple of saddles. You can see the saddle right there that they go into. So let's get started. Okay, and actually, I'm using a 1/4 inch here. And we're just drilling through the rubber. And that's all we're going to do. We're just going to make hole after hole after hole just to dig this rubber out. And if you want to get a little deeper, you take the nut off. Whew, yeah, old rubber stinks. Hold on, real fast. You got to put it a little bit. We'll dig it out. There. And you gotta worry about it messing up your drill bit, because it's just old rubber. And so we'll take a pick and we'll start getting this out. Or we could use a razor blade, but I'd probably end up opening up an artery, as clumsy as I am. But that's all we're going to do, is we're just going to take various picks, and we're just going to get in here and start digging this out and getting this out of the hole. And we're getting where all this rubber is gone. That way it's wiggling in there. That way we can do the same thing on that side, and we can basically just wiggle it back and forth and get it out of the hole. Okay, once you get all the rubber ripped out, it basically just slides right out. There's enough room for it to slide itself in and out from where it was. So you just take it out. We'll clean this because it's got years of shit on it. But we'll use a ball joint press to press these sleeves out. They got to come out from the outside, from the inside out. They got a lip on them. You could theoretically grind the lip off, but I'm going to try to use the press, see if I can get them to cut loose and take care of it. Or you could possibly take a die grinder and cut it right here, because there's a space where the uppers are just this piece, which they're easy to get. This one has this center section in it, and it's open. So you either want to get some kind of spacer in here, but we're going to try pressing it out this way first. All right, because I think once it, yeah, because of the lip on the inside, if we can get to move that much, which is about that much, I think it'll come loose. So let's see if we can try get it to work. Okay, so I used the press, and it's actually the one sleeve is just big enough to get on there, but I did press it enough. I had to use this. I found one that fit in between as a spacer because this was collapsing inward as I was pressing with the ball joint tool. So I just slipped this inside just like this, and I pressed it from the inside. Now I did take the hammer. There was a couple of burrs on here. I did take the hammer and knocked them inward so that it wouldn't interfere, but just flushing it is just enough to get it to pop loose. And as soon as I let loose of the deal, it fell right out. So there isn't a lot. You can see old paint and dirt, and I'll just drift that out of the sleeve on the vise, and we'll do the other side the same way, but it's doable. So you're just gonna have to find you a spacer that fits, and I just found an old socket, and I've got, everybody's got a toolbox full of these old clunkers, and I just put that in there as a spacer right there, and then pressed it out with the ball joint tool and a couple sleeves and a flat. So I had the sleeve here, I had the sleeve here, I had the cap here, and then I had the flat here, and I just used a crescent wrench and whoop, 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 out she came. But the most important part is that spacer, because if you don't, it'll try to collapse on itself. So find you something that fits in between, stick it there, use a ball joint tool, easy peasy lemon squeezy once you get the shaft out. Okay, remember how I told you how you need to put a spacer in there when you're pressing it out to be able to get it out, and that like the factory decided they wanted to dimple all of them on a couple of sides to make sure they didn't come out. You just have to take the small hammer and like this one right here, this one right here. But somebody working at the GM plant that day was not liking their job, and somebody forgot to put a spacer in. Be my guess, okay? So there's not a lot that I'm going to have to press out of this one to get this to pop, but that is a prime example of when we put these back in, we're going to be using a spacer to make sure that this doesn't go like this one just did. But anyway, so I did the same process with this. I drilled everything out. As you can see where the drill ran on the rubber, pulled all the rubber out, and it just slid right out. So, but that's why you use the spacer right there. Something to keep it separated so it won't pinch like that. Okay, and it just took a bigger hammer with the screwdriver, but she come out, and she ain't all completely out yet. She still got a bunch of garbage from years of being in there, still holding it in place. Just dirt, grit, grime, all the normals. Yeah, this was not installed correctly from the factory. I believe that'd be a factory piece. Now we're gonna have to bend that back out before we put the new one in and clean it all up, because it's all just trashed up. But we get another one to do. You want to see something cool? Okay, now that's under pressure right now, and she doesn't want to give. Watch this. Boom. She moved. Sometimes it just needs a little jerk, just a little tap to relieve the pressure. Yep. See it move? These have been sitting here a long time. There's a lot of dirt, a lot of grit. And I'm getting awful tired doing all this by hand. I'm sure shops have the presses and all that shit. I don't. There we go. Okay. That's kind of cool, huh? The other reason I had to tap it is that the edge, if this is just big enough for that to press it into it, so I have to knock it out. Yep, there it came out. And I'll just use the vise and I'll drift it out of there, but that's about how far you had to push it in. Right. Okay, so because there wasn't enough stroke in this to fit with the shanks in them, so I basically just cut them off with the cutoff wheel right here. Good old trusty 4-inch cutoff wheel. So I yanked up both of the bits off. There's one of them right there, so that I have enough room so I can use my press and I can press that out with, my various pieces. And I'll set up the tripod. I'll show you how to do it. Okay, so what we're going to use is we're going to use a combination of both the base plates. We're going to use this one here underneath, just like this, so that there's room for it to pop. And then we'll use this one here, right on top like this. And then you take your piece and you just run her down in here like this. And then again, this is one of those where we're just going to use the big crescent wrench and probably the hammer to tap it a couple of times to get the bust. But we're just going to take this. I might need to probably use a clamp on this so it don't move much, but it's just a matter of getting enough force on it to get it to go down. And I think I need to go this way, so we'll put it up on its end like this. Yeah, just like that. All right, and I'll move you over here so you can see. And then we'll use the crescent wrench on this end, and we'll just use the table as the brace. And we'll just do a little bit at a time. And it's just a press fit. You can see the table's moving. This probably would be easier as a two-man job. That's why you always put them head up. All right. And the table is moving on me. And it's already moving. She's already loosening up. Probably should have done this in the vise, but these things are just so damn big and cumbersome that even putting them in the vise is a pain in the ass. These are definitely, when you start dealing with these old trucks, you realize how they're designed to be a farm implement and not a passenger car. And she's out. And that's all it took. Boom, boom. Probably still going to be hot, but boom, boom, boom. Bam. There's your old ball joint. And there's your hole. Right there. And so now we get to clean everything up because we're going to be going to David's house to do this. But that's how you just hack it off and use the ball joint installer press tool to get them done. Okay, I just wanted to show you a couple things that I found that you need to pay attention to. Now, once I got this flipped over, there was a bunch of sharp edges over the years, getting hit, getting banged, getting whatever. Take a flapper disc and just clean the edges up. Make sure there's no sharp edges. Round it off a little bit. Just clean it up, because this right here, there was a big barb. It took a hit. There was a big barb sticking out of this one. There was a barb sticking out of that. Blended it out, blended it down. It will not affect how strong it is. Make sure and brush inside all the holes where the bushings and the ball joint's going to go, and just knock the haze off of it. This is just all the old stuff gone. This is going in the blast cabinet for the final hit. But just check all the welds. Make sure everything is still intact. Make sure there's no sharp edges, anything that could cause a crack later, and just clean them up as best you did. All I used the tools I'm using to do all this is just a brush on a 4-inch grinder, a 4-inch brush on a drill, so I can get and the flapper disc to clean up all the sharp edges. It can be done, and then now that I got this one done, it's going in the blast cabinet so I can get her blasted and get some paint on it.